Man, there's this interview with Cameron on, I think it was Bill O'Reilly. It was like Cameron and Dame Dash. I was watching it the other day, and I just thought it was interesting. I think it's
Thanks for
like
staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Impact segment tonight. Last
it's
week, the
kind of loud.
principal of John Reynolds
I think
Elementary
it's
School
like
in Philadelphia, Salome Thomas
let me
L.,
pause this for
told
a
us he
second.
believes
I think it's an interesting video, and it's still like it still applies to like America today and like black culture and how it's seen in the masses and like how it affects black culture moving forward, right? Let me go back. Let me let you guys
Thanks for
hear his
staying with us. I'm Bill
introduction.
O'Reilly in the Impact segment tonight. Last week, the principal of John Reynolds Elementary School in Philadelphia, Salome Thomas L., told us he believes gangster rap music is extremely harmful to his inner city students. So we decided.
All right, so the premise of this interview is that rap music negatively affects the youth of black America, ultimately, right? Is what they're talking about.
Named Cameron, who raps about pimping and bitches and among other things, and
We're rapping about pimping and bitches, amongst other things.
rap producer Damon Dash, a co-founder of Rockefeller Records, together with Mr. Thomas L., who joins us now from Philly. And here they all are. Now we're going to.
All right, so we have Bill O'Reilly, who's representing the idea that, from the white man's perspective, that black music negatively influences black culture. Then it's interesting what they did. They took Cameron, who was like, at the time, maybe like an equivalent to Young Boy or Dirk of today, which was representing, you know, the black culture at the time. The Cameron was the face of it when Dipset was popping back 2000 and whatever, 2004. That was the wave. That's what everybody wanted to be. Everybody wanted to be Dipset, right? Well, a lot of people. I'm not gonna say everybody, but so they took Cameron, and then you got Damon Dash, who's like
People like this try to rob me every
he's a
day with a
businessman,
straight face.
but he's
All these
still
people,
in the
all these
street
people, how y'all
culture,
talk
right?
about my
So
artist career without me? What
you got Cameron, who's the streets. You got Damon Dash, who's like somewhere in between the business world and the street world, and then you got this other suited up black dude. And I don't know him or know his story, but I know what he is. He's the representative of like the other side of black culture, where the suited up one, Uncle Tom. Some people will call him, people cooning, whatever you want to say, but it's the black dude who decided to stick to the books, right?
Have a nice, intelligent discussion here, gentlemen, and I'm going to moderate this discussion.
pimping and bitches.
Yeah,
Pimping and bitches.
you got it in your record. You can answer. You can
Bill
answer any
Riley is
questions.
mad condescending, like Purple Haze and your latest record about pimping and bitches, and he's condescending. Like that's kind of his gimmick. But let's continue with this.
Whatever you want. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, how are you?
Good. I'm a big fan of yours. I grew up on hip hop.
Thank you. Sir.
So this is him. This is a thing that a lot of those. I mean, maybe not so much today, but back then, like a lot of the black dudes who stuck to the books, right? They would always try to they tried to justify their blackness. Like, man, I like your music and I grew up around in the streets and I used to do this and do that. And he's pretty much validating himself to Cameron's hood side, right? I just always thought that was funny that, like, these dudes, like these successful black dudes, would try to, like, validate, you know what I mean? Validate their inner hood to, like, these people. It doesn't make sense to me, personally.
I'm a little older, so I was a Run DMC fan, KRS-One.
Yes, sir.
But I'm always promoting the positive of rap. I mean, Jay-Z's an excellent example of someone who's has started his own label, who's an entrepreneur. So always promoting that with my young people. But I spoke to some students today in preparation for our conversation tonight, and they were just so excited about the fact that I will be conversating with you guys, but also began to talk about the impact of the rap business on our young people, and many of them talked about how they understand that it's to sell records and it's for promotion, but there are many young people who are affected by the lyrics, by the example, the videos. They talked about how Ludacris, many of them knew about a video that Ludacris has where they're strippers and lap dances and those kinds of things, and these are 11, 12, 13-year-old students who are very aware of what goes on. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were on whether you thought you really had an impact on the lives of young people and whether you thought it was negative or positive.
So basically what he's saying is he's talking to these kids and they're saying they can communicate that they know that the things they're seeing in these videos aren't necessarily you know, positive. They basically saying they know it's an unrealistic image that's being painted, and they know that they're selling them a dream, right? But they also can realize that subconsciously that dream affects them and their wants and desires and what they feel like they need to be. They're looking up to these dudes like, in the example they used Ludacris and Cameron. They were excited to see Cameron as, their role models, like people they look up to and people who they should strive to be like, right? Is essentially what these kids are communicating, and that's what he's communicating to Cameron from those kids, right? So let's go on and see what Cameron's rebuttal is of that.
Cameron, why don't you go ahead?
At the end of the day, yeah, you got an influence on it, but so do movies. Like with me, I'm just an author. So what I do is I write what goes on in the ghetto. I'm not a liar. So if what I tell you goes on in my album, that's what goes on in the streets of Harlem. Now I'm like a reporter. You look at the news, you don't get mad at the person.
So Cameron, he's deflecting responsibility for his part. He's basically saying, man, if they ain't get it from me, they would have got it from somebody else, right? That's what he's saying. That's what he's communicating. He's saying, man, movies have just as much to blame as I do, if not more, because they see in the story. I'm just telling them what goes on in the hood, right? But that's not necessarily true. Like, yeah, but you at the same time you're saying, man, be like I'm the man. If you want to be the man, be like me. Whether you're saying that clearly or not, that's what you're communicating to them through your actions, right? And I do get where he's coming from. Like, man, I'm just doing he's doing what he's seen. I get that, but at the end of the day, you're deflecting responsibility.
Reporting the news. A lot of influence.
So, and I say that to say he's not saying that he's right. He's not saying that he's doing the right thing. I think he's aware of his influence because he said it, man. You influencing them, but you know what I mean. Even though knowing he's influencing these kids to do negative things or whatever, he's gonna continue to do what he's doing because if they don't get it from me, they're gonna get it from somebody else.
I think go to movies. A lot of people look at the movies and then they react. The kids that killed them kids and where was that? They like Columbine. Yeah, you feel what I'm saying? I don't think they were listening to rap at all. I think
that's a strong point Cameron makes. He's saying, man, you talking about how I'm affecting these kids and how I'm influencing these kids. What about these white kids on the other side of the fence and how, they were affected by the media that they consumed and what they did was horrific, right? Which is, it's a decent argument. But right now we're not talking about them. We're talking about you. That's the only problem I got with it.
That was more like a Marilyn Manson jump off, like.
What if
Marilyn Manson
an
jump off?
11-year-old kid imitates you, Cameron? What if he uses four-letter words and he develops a lifestyle based upon the street? He gets tattooed. He gets all this.
Okay.
Well, let me just say, and then you can jump in. Do you feel badly about that?
No, I don't.
Can I maybe interject?
So, Cameron saying, no, I don't feel bad about that because, man, I would assume, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I guess I'm going to have to here because his answer was no, I don't. I don't feel bad about, these kids that are influenced from me because, it's really not his responsibility. Like, the kids should be influenced by their parents or they should be influenced by other people in the community, in our community that are doing different things. So he's saying, I'm doing what I'm doing. And if these kids decide to live that life, man, that's on them.
If an 11-year-old were to imitate Cameron, what they would be doing is becoming a CEO of their own company, controlling their own destiny, taking a bad situation and making it good. He has a record company. He sold a lot of records. He's acted in movies. I feel like he's a positive.
Also.
He has a cologne.
I have a clothing line.
He's an entrepreneur.
You know what I'm talking about, David.
Well, no, he's an entrepreneur by his own right.
If you have a child.
All right, so this is interesting because Dame Dash makes a great point, right? And we're talking about all the negative things Cameron's doing, but we're not talking about all the positive aspects of what he's doing, which are there. He's a CEO, like he said. He's got all these other things going on. And Bill O'Reilly's, he's also being truthful and like, come on, man, you know what we're talking about. Like, we're not talking about the good things he's doing because that's not what he's selling. That's not what he sold to get there. He didn't sell, I got a clothing line and I got this to get to where I'm at. He's selling the negative aspects of what got him there, right? But what Dame is saying is Cameron coming from where he came from is just making the most out of his situation. You know what I mean? He's just playing the cards that was dealt to him, which is like, an interesting point of view that I can relate to. And I think right as of right now, I'm probably standing mostly on Damon Dash's side, considering all factors, right? Because I think his is the most realistic, and coming from where he's coming from, sitting on his panel in the position he's in, I think it's best for him to take that position because you can't ignore the realities on either side, right? And at the end of the day, there is kids coming up in environments that are like not necessarily nurturing or not necessarily leading them down the right path, but that doesn't mean that you can't turn lemons into lemonade, right?
Who is unsupervised, and then Mr. Thomas L. has to try to teach,
Right.
and he's using four-letter words inappropriately, he's dressing inappropriately, he doesn't have value of education, then that kid's in trouble.
Who's to say what's inappropriate as far as dressing goes? But on another level, when Arnold Schwarzenegger was the Terminator, he was shooting up half of everyone in sight.
It's a cartoon, though.
It's
This
not-
is more
the
real.
The Terminator is not a cartoon. It's a, wait, hold on.
This is real, though, isn't it?
Well,
In my
no.
life, everybody's rap.
Bill's got a point. Bill's got more of a point here than Dame Dash because, I mean, I think the Terminator is just playing a little bit more on fantasy, right? It's like this big robot dude, and kids are like, "Yo, I'm not a robot, bro." Like, you know what I mean? I ain't the Terminator. If I get shot, I'ma bleed, and they know that. Kids aren't dumb, right? First and foremost, and Bill's right. Cameron's is more real. That is more realistic. You see imitations of Cameron in your hood every day. Like, you know what I mean? The dude you want to be like from your neighborhood is trying to be like Cameron. So he's right. It is more real. It is a more realistic path to follow. And like, I see what Bill's saying.
This is real. It's not a Terminator cartoon. All right, Mr. Thomas L., what else do you want to ask these
You
guys?
didn't let me finish that. That wasn't very fair.
All right, go ahead.
That
Go
wasn't
ahead.
very
Well, let Mr. Dash
Now, we're
finish.
talking about the good governor of California.
That's right. And I'm telling you, his movie's a cartoon,
Yeah, but
whereas this rap stuff is real life.
But
Go
you
ahead.
said if
Who
there's
are you
wait,
to
hold on,
determine that?
Hold on, Ken. If there's
the judge of that?
if there's an unsupervised child, how is he to know whether it's real or not? How is he to determine what's real and what's not real? Who's to supervise him?
All right,
And,
do
and,
you
and
think
they
that
get
the
way more.
Terminator movies are just as damaging or more so than gangster
I would have to
rap?
say, being that there's a visual, and
Yeah.
being there's no explanation to him, and being that it's,
Visuals on these rap videos, too,
but
though.
what I'm saying is it's glorified. There's no justification for all the shooting that
All
goes
right.
on. So if he's reporting what goes on around the street, he's a product of his environment. Not to say him, but he's reporting what is a product of his environment. How is that wrong for him to report
Because
that?
are you
Gentlemen, let's be
Let
honest.
Mr. Thomas L. get in here. Go
Gentlemen,
ahead.
let's be honest. Who do these kids relate to more? You, someone from the inner city, or someone from another country, or someone from the suburbs? Let's be quite honest.
Well, what I was trying to
You
say-
came up.
Bro's making a great point, and I think that's where I stand. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's be real here. Like, for argument's sake, I get what you're saying, Dame Dash, but let's be real at the end of the day.
You came up the same way I did,
Right.
the same way millions of these kids do every
Right.
day. We're growing up in
Feel
a
me?
fatherless society. We're
Feel me?
growing up, a lot of our friends, your friends, my friends, didn't have a lot of supervision at home.
Feel
Most
me?
of the time they were at our homes.
Feel me?
We had good parents. We had parents who didn't allow us to do or watch these kinds of things.
Feel me?
Right, I
But
can
these
dig it.
children, now, in the movie industry, believe me, I'm a critic of the movie industry also. I think that these kids are watching too much TV, period. But my issue is that when you rap about what these children relate to because it's in their environment. You've already stated that.
Sounds familiar. I think I agree with this guy the most. As of right now, I'm on Suited Up Brother's side. He's winning.
That this is that they don't know your story because you're a CEO.
Shalom
and I agree.
Thomas.
But see, you
L.
don't promote that,
Shalom
and your
Thomas
company
L.
doesn't promote that. They
We don't
promote the four-letter words.
We don't
They
promote
four-letter-
entrepreneurship.
and I
We
think-
don't promote positive and ownership of your company. I'm making it cool to be smart.
All right,
I'm making
look.
it cool. Wait, let me.
It's not, but it's not
I'm
about
making it cool to be a
business. It's
businessman.
not about business.
Man, I'm somewhere between Dave and Shalom. Like, I don't know, because Dave got good points. Like, man, listen, you got to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can run, right? And what Dame is saying, what Shalom Thomas is saying is, man, you guys are negatively influencing them whether you want to admit it or not, right? What Dame is saying is like, yeah, I came up in a negative environment too, but what I am doing is I'm making it cool to make lemons out of lemonade, right? I'm playing the cards that was dealt to me, and I'm making the best out of it, and I'm trying to be the best role model that I know how to be, right? I'm walking on a road that ain't nobody else walked down before. I'm paving the way. I'm doing the best of what I can do, and at the end of the day in life, bro, that's all you can do is do the best you can do. So you can't knock him. Like, to sit on this perch on this throne and say what you're doing isn't the right way, and but you're not trying to help him do it. It's like, what are you really saying? Like, who are you to even say that to me? Like, I'm trying to make a way, bro. Unless you're gonna help me make a way, don't say nothing to me. Basically, is what Dame is trying to say.
It's about business for you because you feel like it might give you better ratings to portray something negative within the image of hip hop.
Negative. It is negative.
It's not negative to be a businessman. It's not negative to take care of the economy around you.
It's negative to make money, Mr. Dash, if you hurt children.
How do you hurt children by promoting to be an entrepreneur and a CEO and to do right by?
But the thing, Dame, is he's not being honest. Like, honesty is your savior. Like, he's not admitting his flaws, and that's the problem I have with Dame. Is he's not admitting the flaws of what he's doing. He's not admitting that he is putting this image out there. He is selling a negative image in order to get ahead, right? But what he's saying is, man, I'm not the one selling it. These companies are selling it. You see what I'm saying? And they don't get it from me. They're gonna get it from somebody else, right? Is Dame and Cameron's ultimate point. And whether you think that's the right thing or the wrong thing is really up to you to decide. But I can feel it. Like, I can see what he's saying, but he's not being honest and truthful.
For example,
hold it. You're looking at a principle.
Why you don't want to let him talk? You mad?
Yeah.
Where'd you start? Current affair, right?
No, wrong.
Well,
you're
faked a lot. I got dirt on you, doggy.
Cameron,
I'm gonna get at you in a minute.
You go ahead. You get at
I'm gonna get at you in a minute.
Listen, you're looking at a guy who teaches inner city kids and who is telling you face to face that he has problems with kids based upon a rap music, and you're rationalizing it all up and down.
I thought you were going to mediate.
I am.
No, what you're doing, you're giving opinions. You're not an objective mediator now, Bill.
It's my program.
Dame's he's picking straws. I don't like when people do that in arguments.
Bill, now it's your program. Bill.
Yeah, it's my program.
Bill, come on, Bill.
You'll have the dash factor, some other.
Arguing arguments is like so weak and childish to me. I feel like the point of dialogue is to reach a common ground, is to reach understanding. And if both participants in that dialogue aren't trying to like move the conversation forward to get to a point where like they each can take something away, then you're wasting your time having the conversation. Like, you know what I mean?
If the principal tells you that there are children in his school, Cameron, who are being adversely affected by your music, do you care?
I care, but you gotta talk to their parents.
What if they don't?
You feel me? Like, that's hard to argue it. That point right there, Cameron, is hard to argue it. I care. He cares. It's hard not to care, right? It's hard not to care. To say you don't care is crazy, right? You don't care about the future of your people. But talk to their parents. Like, at the end of the day, it's easy to pass off the blame to, like, you know what I mean, whoever it may be, right? It's easy to do that. But there's a responsibility on the parents to be like, man, don't watch that. You can't watch that. Or, no, you can't listen to that music. Or, no, you can't do that. Albeit, them kids are going to go find that anyway. But, when they do that, they're going to already have things subconsciously, right? When you tell them, no, don't do this, and you reject that idea, subconsciously, that kid understands that, man, although I'm sneaking to go, like, consume this content, other people's kids, they might sneak and consume the music, but their parents reject the idea so strongly that they don't internalize those ideas. They know they're just living the fantasy world. They're just peeking over the fence and seeing what's going on over there, and like it's cool and it's interesting, and especially in this time where everything is so safe and like you really don't got no danger in life. Like, you can go through your life avoiding danger almost completely. That's a dangerous lifestyle, and that appeals to some primal aspect of our being. So, it's attractive. It is attractive, but by like taking a firm stance against it as parents, you are installing in your kids that it's ultimately wrong, right?
They don't have good parents.
While they're in school, they have to have parents to be in school. Somebody send them to school.
No, they don't have good
So listen, and if that's the case, homeboy, whoever's in my ear on the television, you need to have parent-teacher conferences with your students. Whether it's their aunt, their cousin, their sister, somebody send these kids to school. They're not 11 years old staying home by themselves. I can't go home and talk to these students and like, you need to have more parent-teacher conferences if you have problems with your students.
Right, let him reply. Let him reply. Go ahead.
Let
him reply.
Okay.
Mr. Thomas L. reply.
That was a good point, Cam.
Thank you.
Right. See, I like when people, like, you know what I mean, when you have dialogue and people like, you know what, that was a good point. I don't know if that was Dame or Shalom, but It was a good point.
Actually, no, it's an excellent point. But actually, you are talking to these students because they listen to you every day. See, you are.
So I got more influence than their parents. That's a problem.
No,
That's a problem.
Facts.
That is a problem.
Facts. And that's the problem that needs to be. That's the problem that needs to be digested. Like, you know what I mean? You can't allow somebody else to parent your children. Like, that's on you, bro. That's on you if you let them fall victims to the evils of the world. That's on you if you don't give them the tools they need to fight off those demons and instill in them the knowledge and power and understanding to, like, rise above certain things, bro. You got to talk to your kids. Like, I take, like, you know, I don't got kids, but I got little brothers and sisters that are way younger than me, and I'll take some time on my day to just talk to them. You feel me? Open and honestly.
So you need to have parents teacher conference because these are your students. You feel me? I can't come if you want me to come to your school and talk to your students. I can do that.
No,
for you.
I don't. No,
all right,
I don't.
Listen.
Are you
have to
going to
talk to
four letter words?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Are you going to come?
Let him get in.
Talk to your parents.
You're cutting me off, sir.
You're mad.
Go ahead, Mr. Thomas. Go ahead.
No.
It's childish coming out. You mad? You mad? But as a man, like, you know, as an educated man, is what I mean. He's a principal, so that means he had to at least go through some type of education. You shouldn't fall victim to those, you know, ploys. That stuff you gotta ignore.
No, what I'm saying to you. What I'm saying to you is that you're making millions of dollars off of these kids.
How you know
The
how
same
much I'm
kids that
making?
you're
How
now
do you know how much money I'm
denigrating,
making?
the same parents that you're now denigrating, you make millions of dollars
How
off
do
these
you know how
people.
much money I make?
Okay.
Go ahead. Now
Let me
you
ask you a
reply.
quick question.
Arguing
Go
petty
ahead.
points. That makes you look weaker in this argument. You know what I mean? That's giving them, like, if your intention is to come on here and come out looking better, that just makes all the good things you said like go out the window because they're like, man, for all that good thing he said, he's childish. Which is, they wouldn't be wrong.
I think it's pretty unfair for you to judge the circumstance without properly understanding it. But
And
at
at the end of the day, they didn't let bro talk. Like, bro really didn't get to get his like point across. They really didn't let bro talk. They just walked all over him, and I kind of wanted to hear what he had to say.
Positive things as we can, which is why when we do make these money, we give back to a community. Me and Cam ourselves from 142nd Street to Lenox, we do have a program there that teaches the kids to be positive. We make them go to school. We support a basketball program, and every chance we get, we personally know 150 kids in the neighborhood and speak to them and tell them to stay in school and incentivize them to stay in school.
Now I'm going to take a break.
What's
I'm going to hold these guys.
about that?
Okay, I got to take a break.
And I mean, that's good. That's good and dandy, and like that's the legwork you should put in your community if you can. Like, if you have the means to, I feel like that means a lot. That means a lot. But you know, you should. I know a lot of people don't like when people do charity and put it out to the media, right? But I think that they should do that because it sets an example to them people in your hood that want to be like you, and it sets an example of like, yo, look, this is what we doing. This is what we doing, and this is what you should be. If you want to be like me, this is what you got to do. Right? So that's why I think they should promote them type things more. And like when artists and like rappers, especially the ones that may have like a negative image, do those things for positive image, and like, you know, they're actually doing the legwork and they're like putting up these programs. Because if you can get these like, you know, smaller time people that are like, you know, imitating your image to do the same thing, that is going to be an ultimate positive for the community. If they're at least conscious of their image, right? If they're at least trying to do better, then that's good. Ultimately, I think the ultimate outcome.
I'm going to hold these guys over for a recap. I'm going to let them all recap, and we'll be back with that in a moment.
All right, Billy boy.
All right, we're going to continue now, and Mr. Thomas L., we're going to give you a minute to make a statement, and then we're going to go.
I just want to say that, you know, Bill's character, right, in this thing, what he represents, is important because that's just the reality of what we're dealing with, and that's the reality of how people are looking at us, and it's good that Bill's being honest, you know what I mean? Because he can sit on here and pander and, like, you know, suck up, but it's not helping us. It's not helping the black community as a whole, right? It's just, it would just be lying. Like, those are honestly the worst people, the people that are just coddling you and telling you what you want to hear. You need that opposition in order to refine yourself and become better, right? So, shout out to Bill. As much as you want to punch him in his face, right, and you want to squeeze his little head, what he's doing is necessary. Like, you need that.
Cameron, and then we're going to go to Damon Dash, and I think that's a fair way to do it. So you go first.
Okay. I'd like to thank you, gentlemen, for what you do. I'd like you to promote more to these young people And maybe even if you can influence the folks who are around you to promote the positive things that you're doing. I know you're
That's ultimately what I said. Like I'm with the brother there. You know what I mean? I can't be mad. You can't be mad at him there. And I feel like that's the common ground. That the only common ground you could really come to is because at the end of the day, these are how these people are feeding their families and stuff. So you know what I mean? All you could ask them to do is try to be better and be conscious of it, right?
doing positive things. But also, these children are watching you tonight. Many of these children have parents who are incarcerated, parents who are drug addicted. They don't have the parental involvement they need. They look up to a lot of you guys. A lot of you are men. They don't have a lot of contact with positive men.
That's another reality. I think this problem, right, what they're trying to attack in this short segment, I think that's why podcasts are so beautiful, right? And streams are so beautiful because you can't tackle this topic in like 10, 15 minutes. Like this is a long conversation that has so many routes to go down, so many paths to go down. And, you know, the fact that they're talking about it is good. This was back in the day, but these are, if you notice, these are problems we still have today. Like these problems aren't going away until, you know, everybody sits down and has honest opinions with each other. But that's just what it is.
And tonight, you're making a mockery of their situations. So, you know, tonight to an intellectual people, you didn't make rap look good. You didn't make the industry look good. And we aren't highlighting the positive. I'm hoping in the future that we can send a better message, not only to our young people, but to America, that this industry does have some talented people who do care, because you're out there doing some good and great things for young people.
Shout out to Bro for
All right,
admitting
Cameron,
both
you go.
sides.
Cool. I just want to say I think that we got off to a bad start tonight, but I think everything that we said was very positive. I think that what me and Dash are doing is very, very, very positive for the youth. You just jumped on everything that we done bad, and there's nothing that we done bad. You took it based on a one song of lyrics. Like, I think what you need to do is get more in tune with your students. You know what I mean? You need to have parent-teacher
Also true.
conferences. If you need some of these rappers to come in, call the record company, call Rockefeller Records, call Diplomat Records, and ask us to come in and speak to your students. We do
I wanna
things
call
like that.
you.
No, your statement is over. It's my turn to talk. You're
Okay.
done for the night.
Well, you cut me
You're
off
done.
early.
You're done.
So I'm
You're
gonna
done.
call you and-
You're done.
Come
You're
on,
done.
brothers,
First of
brothers,
all,
brothers,
check
brothers.
it
The
out.
kids
Like
is
it's
watching,
school
brothers.
tomorrow.
The
right.
kids is watching,
He
brothers.
needs you to come in.
Holla
Okay,
at us.
right?
Diplomat Records will come speak to
Good.
his kids.
All right,
Purple
let,
Haze,
thank you.
February
Thank you.
17th. Go
Let
get
Mr.
it.
Dash wrap it
You're
up.
done for the night.
You know.
Going along with Cameron said, I think a lot of what we said was positive and informative. It's kind of obvious that maybe you don't understand that everything affects everything, whether it be movies, books, literature, a reporter on television.
Facts.
And if you're going to promote anything, I would think that to the culture, to the kids that are watching, you would promote the positive aspect of it. So if you know there is negative in something, try to find the positive as opposed to always talking about the negative. That's the thing I don't understand why we critique so hard within hip-hop. No one talks about the jobs we create. No one talks about the
Facts.
things we do within our community.
That's
and No one
true.
talks about the businesses we've done, how we've opened the doors and showed people that it's cool to be smart, it's cool to be a CEO, it's cool to take advantage, not to take advantage, but to reap the benefits of all your labor and to do it fairly. I can't see how that could ever be considered a negative, and I'm disappointed in the fact that you would be thinking that.
All right.
But anyway, I just want
I think that's important. Like you do stand on the shoulders of the people who came before you, right? So, you know, a lot of man, Bill O'Reilly, a lot of your ancestors were, you know, they did some crazy things to get to be able to put you in a position to be where you're at. Like, you know what I mean? It was a lot of progress that was made, and America has a short history. When you really look at it, America's been a short history. So, you know, I won't necessarily say the black community has done that well because we do have giants that we could stand on and that we built on, and we have kind of taken a step back throughout that process. Like, you know what I mean? From the you know, the 70s, 80s, 90s, like it's been kind of like from Martin Luther King. I look at it like this: it's been from Martin and Malcolm to Young Boy and Dirk, right? Like at one point in Black history, Malcolm and Martin was the number one representatives of our community. Now it's rappers and like athletes like LeBron and whatnot, and you know they do good. I'm not saying those are bad people to be like, but you know I feel like the people in our community that are doing other things like Obama or like I feel like we don't really look up to them as we should, right?